People who make language textbooks are cowards. And I'm saying that because if you learn Spanish or French, you've been deprived of two of the most hilarious idiomatic expressions those languages have. So many of us who've taught or learned languages through textbooks will know that there's this bizarre obsession they seem to have with idiomatic expressions. And this kind of irks me. And I think there are two reasons why it's irked me in the past. The first is that they often say that these idiomatic expressions aren't translatable, whereas in reality there's nothing like intrinsically semantically unique about these expressions. They're usually just metaphors, and if you understand what the words mean themselves and you just put a little bit of effort into conceptualizing how they might have originated, it's not difficult to understand them at all, or even find some kind of equivalent in your home language. And then the other reason they annoy me a little bit is that many of us know that it takes a very long time for you to naturally incorporate idiomatic expressions in a foreign language when you're speaking. So why they're introduced usually so early in textbooks doesn't make sense to me either, but I'm not here to talk about that exactly. What I'm here to talk about are two of the most hilarious idiomatic expressions that exist in the Romance languages. And maybe, after listening to them, we can get an idea of why they might have come from vulgar Latin. Excuse the pun, classicists. So, the very first that I'd like to start out with is to do with the weather. So, in English, we've got this expression: if it's raining particularly heavily, and we want to talk about how heavily it's raining, we'll say that it's raining cats and dogs. Okay. The French take a much more agricultural approach to this. One of the expressions for talking about how heavily it's raining in French is "il pleut comme le vache qui pisse." Now, I'm not going to translate that, and I'm going to expect you to do your own research there, but you can pretty much get the idea already, even if you haven't looked up in a translator. But that's not even the best. That's not even my favorite. My favorite is a Spanish idiomatic expression. If you're lost, or rather you want to describe how a certain place is rural, isolated, not easy to get to, and somewhat undesirable, has none of the trappings of rural charm, you might say that it's in the middle of nowhere, right? In Spanish, there are many expressions you could use to more or less describe the same idea, but none quite come close to saying that a certain place está en el culo del mundo. Yeah, again, I'm not going to translate that one, so you look it up yourself if need be. Before I leave, what I thought I might say is, you might notice that I'm in a slightly different background. Behind me here are the medieval walls of Padua, remnants of the medieval walls of Padua, city in northeastern Italy. It's actually pretty incredible how well preserved they are, and the fact that they go easily beyond 700 years ago. Anyway, I'll leave you guys with those awesome idiomatic expressions, and I hope to see you in the next video. Adios, and à tout à l'heure.